Welcome back to Is It Still Good, the channel that watches older films and lets you know if they still hold up. Today I'm really excited, guys. This is one of my favorite all-time movies ever, The Crow. I love The Crow. Brandon Lee died tragically filming this movie, and ever since it's gone on to become this cult classic, and I'm so happy it has. This movie was lightning in a bottle, if you ask me. It couldn't be done again, which is why it's so funny that they continue to pump out sequels and television shows and God knows what. I'm so sick of it. It's so dumb. So many films that were great have gone on to just make crappy franchises like Predator, for example. You only needed one of those. Yes, there's some good lore and it's cool, but just one is fine. You only need one Crow. You know what I mean? You only need one Crow. There is only one Crow. Ask anybody who's the Crow. They'll tell you it's Brandon Lee, which is amazing because he really had to campaign for the job. Johnny Depp was considered, River Phoenix was considered, who tragically died 7 months after Brandon, actually. But nobody was enthusiastic about it. Cameron Diaz was even offered the role of Shirley, the fiancée, and she turned it down for The Mask. She thought that was a better written script, apparently. I don't know, because she didn't like the script. But it's like people did not see what was good about this movie until it was made. Maybe the only one that really knew how good this could be was Brandon, who was enthusiastic to get the job. James O'Barr, who wrote the comic, he didn't want this to turn into some kung fu film because that's all he knew about Brandon was he was the son of Bruce Lee and he did a bunch of crappy action movies. He did a few. But once he saw him in full makeup and Brandon recited some lines, James felt better. I think they grew to be close because James O'Barr would not visit the set after Brandon was killed and donated most of his money to charity because he said, quote, "It feels like blood money." Wow. The Crow itself, the story came about because James O'Barr's fiancée was run down by a drunk driver and killed. So to deal with that, he was writing the Crow graphic novel while being a mechanic. And the film rights, I believe, were sold in '88. Took him years to finish the graphic novel. I'm so glad he did. It's so cool, you know? And the movie's very, very different from the comic, by the way. If you ever go to read the comic thinking, oh, I love the movie, I'll read the comic, you got to recalibrate your brain in many ways. Like there's some wacko characters that don't show up in the film and so on. And Rochelle Davis plays Sarah, the kid, and I don't like kids in movies, and she's awesome in this. Michael Wincott is top dollar. He's incredible. For any really good revenge, action story to work, you need great scumbags and a great, great bad guy. And this movie has that. The scumbags are incredible. They feel so authentic to me. I've known so many scumbags in real life. And these guys are spot on. Even their nicknames are nicknames that I think I would run into out there. It just feels authentic. A lot of the stuff in this feels authentic, with the exception of, Shelley. I don't know of a lot of rocker dudes living in loft apartments with their supermodel fiancés in one of the most crime-ridden areas in the world. I don't know. If Shelley were my gal, we'd be out in the country somewhere. I would get her to the country and away from danger. But that's just me, and that's not the point of the story. But, as a grown man watching it, that's always the thing that kind of sticks with me. And I guess there was a bunch of scenes filmed with Shelley that they were going to throw in, and I'm kind of glad they didn't, because I think the more of her you show, just the less believable it is. You know what I mean? Because I know in real life, you're in a band, you have no money, you get engaged, you give your wife-to-be that crappy ring. There's this crappy ring in this movie. And I get it, it's the... it's symbolic and all this stuff. I'm willing to bet you dollars to donuts that money would be the topic of argument. And it would get pretty bad. Also, she would probably be pretty upset about all the crime around there. She probably wouldn't feel very safe. I just don't know how she got by this whole time in a place like that. She stands out like a sore thumb. Anyway, that's just me. One producer actually wanted The Crow to be a musical starring Michael Jackson. That's not a joke. That's not a joke. Somebody actually thought that was a good idea. And Alex Proyas wanted to shoot it in black and white. The studio wouldn't let him, so they gave him this monochromatic look you're seeing here. And that's awesome because I love the look of this movie. It's great. It's so cool. I don't know, kind of worked out, but later on that was used to great effect in Sin City and a few other films. O'Barr has a great quote on the Crow franchise. He's very astute, this man. He's seen a lot. He says, "The Crow franchise is like this beautiful tree that every dog that passes by just has to piss on it." Ain't that the truth, man? Have you guys ever seen a sequel or anything. I think I tried to watch like City of Angels one time and I was like, blah, I can't do it. Too gross. Johnny Depp and Christian Slater were considered for the role. They were asked to audition for the role. They weren't enthused. Same with River Phoenix, who didn't want to play Eric Draven. Brandon was super into it and campaigned to get it. So he got it. Let that be a lesson. Persistence, right? And although the story did come about from the tragic loss of James O'Barr's fiancée when they were young, he did also base the story on a news story he saw where a young couple was brutally murdered for their engagement ring, which turned out to be only worth $15, even sadder, right? It just all happened needlessly. So that all worked its way into the story, which I think is awesome. You know, they said this movie was low budget. They didn't have enough money for, you know, a lot of safety stuff. They didn't have enough money for, I don't know, extra staff or whatever. So I guess drug use was rampant on the set, and it was a bit of craziness. Brandon Lee's agent actually called the producers yelling at them saying, "You're trying to kill my actor," because he thought he was going to get hypothermia. Brandon Lee had to lose 20 pounds for this role, and James O'Barr said he was pretty cut. He didn't have 20 pounds to lose, and he happily did it and kept it moving. It's so cool. What a professional. You know, Brandon was about my size now, only, you know, I'm a little more muscular. But if you told me to lose 20 pounds of muscle, I'm going to tell you to pound dirt, because that took a long time to put on. I can only imagine. So this guy was really, really dedicated is what I'm telling you. Really, really dedicated. It was freezing. It was cold. They were shooting outside. There was a lot of water stuff. And they were sitting around like a burning barrel, you know, to get warm. So I don't know. I just think that's really, really cool how he was so driven to be in this. And I recognize some other characters. There's like Tony Todd was Candyman, I believe. The other dude that's in all those Coen Brothers movies is in it. I recognize some of the bad guys. I don't know. I love the way it's shot. I love the look of it. The soundtrack. I mean, I listened to the soundtrack this morning before I even knew if I was going to record this. You know, not the whole soundtrack, but one of the songs came up in my playlist randomly. This is many, many years later. I used to sit on the bus. I had a long ride, and I used to just listen to the soundtrack over and over and over. I know all the songs backwards. It's crazy. This movie still gets my blood up. When the bad stuff's happening, the inciting incident, as it were, I feel very ragey still. And I know this is just a film and it's, quote, not really happening. But you know what? It is happening. It is happening out there somewhere. And every time I watch a movie where something like this is happening, I'm reminded that it's probably happening right now. It's not so much that it takes me out of it, it just pisses me off to the point where, I don't know. I'm so with Eric Draven on this. That's why I love this movie so much. I get super angry, and then I just want to watch him go get them all. You know what I mean? I think you're going to love that about it. You know, it's going to piss you off real, real bad, but that's going to get you in the mood for some crowing, if you ask me. So, I don't know. It just works really, really well. Everybody's so freaking good in it. The actors are incredible. The soundtrack is on point. The directing is cool and looks sharp. Brandon was driven. And poor Michael Massey, who killed him by accident. That sucks. Ironically named Fun Boy in this. That just sucks. I don't know. What is there to say? Let me know in the comments what your favorite scene in this movie is, what your favorite song on the soundtrack is. What are some parts that stick out to you as just like iconic and forever? How good do you think this movie is? I mean, if I really had to give it a number score, it's got to be a 9.5. I'm not going to give it an official number score, but it's where it ranks. I mean, it's somewhere up there. It's over a 9 for me. It's like somebody made a movie just for my 14-year-old self, and it just, I don't know, I just blinked and stared at it. I didn't understand why I was feeling everything I was feeling, but I love it. I love it, and I'm so glad it was not a musical starring Michael effing Jackson. That would have, what? But on a whole, I watch this movie and I just get this bigger vibe. It doesn't even, it's not about the film, it's not about the story, it's just this moment in time, it's a sound, it's a feel, it's the mid-90s. Like, if you guys weren't around for that, let me tell you, this movie nails it. This movie feels like the mid-90s, big time. This was the vibe. It was dark, it was, you know, people were killing themselves, it was crazy, music was getting dark, industrial was coming out, you know, rock was turning into grunge, and metal was turning into industrial, or heavier metal, or black metal, or all the offshoots. Everything was coming out. It was awesome. and I was impressionable. And here's me with a crappy home life, up in my messy room, leaning against the kick drum of my drum set, probably with my guitar on my lap, headphones on, probably playing along to this soundtrack. That was me, man. That was my youth. So, anyway, let me know in the comments. Continue the discussion about The Crow. Let's talk about it at length. I love you guys. I will see you next time on Is It Still Good? Good.